Hey guys, it's Myriam and welcome back to another video. So before we jump into it, I just wanted to quickly let you know that prints of the piece I'll be painting today are in my shop, as well as newly listed misfit prints, which are slightly cheaper prints because usually the colours are slightly off and don't quite fit the original. There is a list, so you can choose which one you want, but there aren't many of each. I'll always update the list as people order, so if you're interested in slightly cheaper prints of my work, head over to my shop. The link is in the description. Also, I have a really detailed process PDF of the piece I'll be painting in this video up on my Patreon. It's available for the $5 tier, and you basically get to see all my reference pictures, all my painting materials, and detailed step-by-step pictures of the whole process. So if you're interested in checking that out, the link is in my description below. And the last thing I wanted to mention is the fact that I'm part of a Skillshare Ambassador, social media ambassador program, where I have a referral link or a discount code. And if you use either when you sign up for Skillshare, you get 2 months for 99 cents. And I get a small commission at no extra cost to you, so it's kind of a win-win situation. You get to check out Skillshare and see if you like it, and I get a little bit of money from you signing up with my code. So if you're interested in helping me out in that way, and if you're interested in kind of online courses about all sorts of topics, I'd head over to the Skillshare link in my description below. This video is not sponsored, this is not an endorsed video, this is just a system that I have on the side, and I thought I'd mention once again, because I don't mention it very often, but it is around. So it's an extra little way of helping me if you want. So this painting is basically the one big piece I like to paint every month. I've committed myself to trying to paint a big complex painting at least once a month, and this one is it. It was a little bit late this month. I usually try and do them mid-month because I'm also committed on Patreon to uploading a process PDF, like I mentioned in the beginning, of each of my big paintings every month. It's also going to be the print, like the print for the print tier for July, this piece, and I printed it out today. It actually looks really cool, and I'm really happy with this painting. It's very strange printing it a lot smaller than it is, though. I feel like it loses so much, but this piece is basically the biggest piece I have ever painted. You'll hear me talk about it a bit more next week because I'll have a vlog up, and because this month was mostly me painting this, I'll be talking about it quite a bit in the artist vlog that I'll be posting next week, so you'll see a bit more of it then. But it's I painted this piece on a 20 by 30 inch paper. I'd never painted that big. I think the biggest I've ever painted before this one was A2, and it was nerve-wracking. It's funny how you kind of quickly get used to painting bigger, though, because the first time I did a big piece was A3, and it felt like I had too much canvas, too much paper. I didn't know what to do with all that space, and now to me A3 just feels really small. So I suspect that this 22 by 30 is going to ruin even A2 for me now. So I'd initially planned on doing this piece on a 16 by 20 paper, but I then managed to buy some really yummy thick, and I keep saying that this paper is 640 GSM, but I think in reality it's 585 GSM, and it's Bockingford watercolor paper. It's lusciously thick, and I didn't stretch it. It did buckle ever so slightly when I was painting on it, especially the background, but I taped it down, so it meant that it dried flat anyway, but also it didn't buckle enough that it became a problem. It didn't buckle enough that the paint pulled, or that the paint was uneven on the surface. So I'm completely spoiled with paper now. As soon as I tried much thicker watercolor paper that I didn't have to stretch, even though I don't mind stretching paper, it is time consuming, and it means I'm working with a heavy board because I don't have an alternative right now, and it's just a not very convenient way of doing it. So every time I can afford it, which is not very often, so I treasure the moments, I buy some really thick, ideally 640 GSM paper. I have a pad, like you might have seen my art haul, I have a pad of Arches 640 paper, and I am both super excited to work on it and super scared. So it's just so delicious, and apparently you can get like over 800 GSM. I haven't seen it anywhere, but I have heard you can, and it must be like bored at that point. I'd be really interested to check that out. Just a quick little warning, because I'm watching the footage while I'm talking. I realised that this is 9 hours of footage that has been sped up to fit within 14 minutes. So it's probably going to be a bit jittery every so often, especially when I move in and out of frame. So I just wanted to give you a quick little warning that may be happening, just in case it's not the kind of thing that you kind of are comfortable with looking at. But anyway, so throughout the process for this video, I was posting sneak peeks on my social medias, and patrons were having like full work in progress pictures and stuff like that, and a few people mentioned how they thought it looked inspired by either Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind or Princess Mononoke, both Ghibli movies by Hayao Miyazaki. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but they're not consciously inspired by those movies, although they are some of my favourite films ever. So I didn't consciously go for a look that reflected some parts of those films, but I can definitely see why that was a question, and I wouldn't be surprised if subconsciously they had that aesthetic of those films had seeped into my work, just because I can tell that those films had a massive impact on my general art aesthetic and my general art style. It was never something conscious. I was never looking at the films thinking, oh, I want to create work that looks like that. But, you know, the things that you love will inspire what you create, and I suspect that had a part in it. So I can't say for sure that nothing in my painting is related to those movies, because they might very well have seeped into my aesthetic. But I can definitely see why people would think that, and yeah, fair enough. So this painting was actually experimental in a few different ways. Not only was it the biggest one I've ever painted, but I also reused some acrylics I had sitting around for a while. They're very, really old acrylics, and I don't know how bad that is, because I don't really know what how age affects acrylic paints. But I was expecting them to stink when I opened the tubes, but it turns out that they were fine. They're about 10 years old, so I was really expecting them to be horrible. But for some reason they worked really fine, and I actually really enjoyed painting them. The fact that they dried really fast, they've dried even faster than my gouache, was really enjoyable. I remember hating acrylics when I first ever started painting with them. It was just not my type of medium, and I don't think I'll ever go back to painting fully just with acrylics, because watercolour and gouache are just my soulmates when it comes to to mediums, I think. But I really enjoyed using them for the background in washes, so I might kind of try and reintroducing them in my process into my paintings in the future. It also allows me to be a bit more versatile in my style and in my process and my techniques, and I just like that. I like keeping my practice a bit fresh. It keeps it interesting for me, and I like experimenting. I like trying new things, so I'll probably reintroduce those a little bit. And also, I need to use them. I don't like throwing paints away. It's so I always intended on reusing the paints I have, the acrylic paints I have. So hopefully I'll manage to include those in the future again. Another medium I actually tried for the first time with this piece was acryl gouache. I have a set, you might have seen if you've seen my haul video, I have a set of Turner acryl gouache, which, for those of you who are not familiar, the difference between acryl gouache and normal gouache is that normal gouache reactivates with water even once it's dry, and acryl gouache kind of does like acrylic and dries completely waterproof, so it doesn't reactivate. I've been really excited to try out those paints, and I only used about 5 or 6 maybe in this painting in total. I think the bright blue-green accents you can see on the painting right now, and some of the white was in acryl gouache, and so I didn't use it extensively enough that I could do a review right now, but I'll probably do a whole video where I do just pieces with my acryl gouache and kind of let you know what my thoughts are and how I think it differs with normal gouache and all that kind of thing in the future. But this is not the video for that. But I just thought I'd mention I tried those acryl gouache paints for the first time here, and I really enjoyed them. I think it was a really, in combination with normal gouache, if I get used to using them per their their respective qualities, I think it could result in really cool things. So I'm excited to try them in the future again. I don't think I'll ever replace my normal gouache completely. I just like the reactivating qualities of watercolor and the gouache. I think I've just gotten used to those, and they're just an integral part of my process. But I love having the options of using those I'm losing my voice of using those acryl gouache, and this is the last time I'll say acryl gouache because I feel like I've said it a lot in the past minute. When I look back at this piece, it's funny to see what quintessential elements kind of tend to come back into my work. I think the main two things that I will probably be exploring more and more in my style are translucency and light. They're just elements that I always want to go back to when I paint something, and this piece is quintessentially the epitome of that. It's just funny to I just find it really fascinating how style kind of escapes you after a while. You have to look back on your pieces to actually understand what your style is. It's not something conscious, and I've really enjoyed exploring that when I look back on my own work, because it's an interesting introspection to kind of look at the choices I make unconsciously when I paint a piece, and the stylistic choices I make without really realizing I am making them. And here, the light and the kind of slight translucency of the character I think are just things that I really want to incorporate in my work more in the future, because they're just so fascinating to paint, and so I think there'll be more of that in my next pieces. One thing that I maybe feel like I should have fixed were the proportions of the body. They were fine in my initial sketch, but then when I kind of tried drawing this big, I think it's one of the problems I'm going to encounter in the future if I decide to paint quite big, and it's the fact that my proportions get quite slightly off because my eyes are not used to seeing things in that kind of size. So I'll have to look out for that in the future. So yeah, that's one of the things that I want to look out for next time. I'm sorry I didn't film myself painting the background. This is the only footage I've got of that, but I was just I just didn't turn the camera on because I was so close to being finished with the piece that I forgot. And also it's kind of nerve-wracking because it's like having someone looking over your shoulder a little bit, so sometimes I get a bit kind of filming fatigue at the end of a piece, especially after I think this piece took me on and off 3 or 4 days to paint, so by the end of it I was just like exhausted. But yeah, here we go. This is towards the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing me paint this piece. The response on social media to this painting were insane. Like, you guys were amazing and just so lovely, and it was so heartwarming because I was so happy with this piece, and the fact that you guys also liked it really meant a lot. And then once again, there are prints available of this piece on my shop right now, so link in the description below, and do check out the Patreon process PDF if you would like to, because I'm sorry for advertising it quite a bit, but it's something that I put a lot of time and energy and love into, and I'm quite happy with them, and I hope they're kind of useful to people out there. So do check them out if you're interested in knowing the nitty-gritty details about how I created this painting. But anyway, I hope you guys are all really well. Thanks for joining me for another video. I'll have my very first vlog up next week, but I won't be in the country. It'll be uploaded. It will be scheduled to be uploaded, and I'll be in Italy for a wedding at that point. But in the meantime, have a really wonderful weekend, and I'll see you soon. Bye everyone.